Hello and welcome to the second in the series of .NET video tutorials brought to you by scoobySoft.com. My name is Mark White, your tutor for the foreseeable future. The last day we created a very simple website just to demonstrate how quickly and easily it could be done using Visual Studio.NET. Today we are going to write our first line of C# code, which will perform some functionality on our page. So here we can see the HTML that we wrote the last day with Hello World in text and my first site as the title. So in order to create some functionality on the page, I am first going to add three controls to the page. There are two ways you can do this. You can either do it in design view by going to the toolbox and just selecting, left clicking on your control that you want and dragging it up and onto the page. I prefer to do all of this in the source view. So this is source view and that is design view. In source view I'm just going to click enter after hello world. I'm going to grab that text box, and so that the page is going to be laid out a little bit tidier than just having controls right beside each other, I'm going to add a small little bit of HTML, which is a line break. And that is open angle bracket BR space / close angle bracket, and that will send whatever I put on the next line here down to the next line on the page. So I'll now click return. I now want to grab myself a button from the toolbox, add that, and the quickest way to add the line break is just copy the HTML from above and put it there, and I'm going to click return again and grab myself a label, which is there. Now I also want to put in a couple of line breaks after the hello world text, so I'm just going to paste that in there twice. Now before I change the names of these controls, I just want to give you a quick view of what that looks like in design. So we have the hello world text, we have our text box, our button and our label. Back to source view. The first thing I always do when I add my controls is rename them, and I tend to name them according to their functionality. So I'm going to call this text box name without a W. I'm going to call this button display, and I'm going to call the label message. A couple of other things. I'm going to take out the text that's in the text attribute of the label. I'm going to take out button in the text attribute of the button, and I'm going to replace that text with the word display. And if we go back to design view, you can now see the text display is in the button, and label message, which is the default name for the label, is displayed there. Another thing that I want to point out in the development environment, if I click on the text box and go down to the right hand side, you can see the properties box here, which I have anchored to the right and below. And in the properties box you can see a number of attributes that are related to the text box. There's the name, and there's various other things that you can set in here. Text mode, single line, you can change that to a multi-line, or a password which would display asterisks instead of true text, and a lot of other functions and attributes that you will access again and again. There is a little button here that looks like a lightning strike, and if you click on that, what you see are the events that are associated with the text box. So if I was typing in the text box, this event here would occur. It's called text changed. So if I wanted something to happen after I typed something in the text box, I would double click there to create that event. However, the only functionality I want to create today is associated with the button. So I'm going to click the button here, and if we go down here to the lightning strike, we can see a click event, and I'm going to double click in there to automatically create this function here, which has been named according to the name of the control, button display, and .NET will automatically add _click. Now before I go any further, I'm going to delete that and just show you another way of creating this function. I'm going to delete that and go back to my design view, and if I double click on the button, the same thing happens. So there's two ways to create your function which is related to your button. You can either double click on it, or you can go down here and double click in there. So when the button gets clicked by the user, this event, this function is going to occur. And what I want to do is to type my name into the text box, click the button, and have my name with some other message be displayed in the label. So here we go with our first little bit of C# code. I am going to say in the label L-A-B. Now I've started to type the name of the label, and what's come up on the screen, it may or may not be rendering on your video, is a number of suggestions, and I'm going to scroll down and click on label message. That's the name of the label I gave earlier on, and I'm going to write dot text, and again text comes up in your, it's known as IntelliSense, where all the suggestions come up which are associated with control. So label message dot text is equal to, and then I'm going to start to type the name of the text box, T-E-X-T, and I can see there the text box name comes up as a suggestion. I'm going to choose that, and dot text, again suggested by IntelliSense. So the whole line of code is label message dot text is equal to text box name dot text, and what that is saying is whatever has been typed in the text box name dot text is to be assigned to the label message dot text. Now I want to add an additional small message to the label, so I'm going to type a little message in here. So any strings that I want to appear in the label I put into double quotes, and I'm going to say your name is colon space, and then this little plus does what's known as concatenation. It's going to add whatever is written in the text box to this string here, your name is. That's it. Label message.text equals your name is plus text box name dot text. I'm going to save that, and I'm also going to save my original page. Before we go any further, I just want to point out that you can see here now the original page we created, default.aspx, is displayed there, but the code behind default.aspx.cs is displayed there, CS standing for C#, the language that we're using. Also over in the Solution Explorer, if you click on this arrow, you can see default.aspx, the page we're working on, but you can also see the code behind default.aspx.cs. So if I close these two and I want to access either of them again, I can open them individually. So there's the C# side, and there's the actual page we created. Let's have a look at it in design view before we run. Okay, let's go up to our save, constantly saving as I'm working with it, across to our start button, or F5, click on the start button, and again, just as in tutorial 1, the last thing we need to do before running our site is to click on run without debug. Just speeds up the running process that little bit. Click on OK and wait for our page to display. So there you can see the text we originally had in Hello World. The title is up there in the tab My First Site, and we have a text box and a display button. Now if I click on the display button now, you will see your name is, but there is no value after it because the text box is empty. So what I'm going to do is just type my name, M-A-R-K, into the text box, and again click display, and you can see the name that I typed into the text box has now been added to the text of the label. Your name is Mark. So that's it. That's your first line of C# code. I hope you enjoy following along with the tutorial. My name is Mark White for scoobysoft.com.